Video is going to be about a few different things that are going to be interesting. It's in September now, and the sap is not flowing as much as it was in the spring and the summer. And we're going to steam the bark and cambium off to peel it off like a banana to have a pristine back. And if we had a straight stave, we could just lay out a bow design, and we're good to go with that pristine back. But this particular hickory, uh, we have a really bad twist in it, and I'm going to show you. We're going to talk about steaming it. We're going to talk about heating up with a heat gun. We're going to talk about fire hardening. We're going to explain when to fire harden a second time if we have to, how long to fire harden, why some woods take longer to fire harden than others, and it'll be a little interesting, especially if you never did it before. And then once this bow is done, then my friend will come over, and he'll have a stave that's straight, and he'll be able to tiller it, shape it, and if necessary, we will fire harden it again because we had to make it a little thicker because of the twist. Decided just to screw around with this little. I'm going to split it and then see what happens. I think if we're going to take off the bark and cambium, it's going to have to be trimmed and steamed for an hour and 15 minutes, but I'll see. I don't know if it's worth it yet, but I'm just splitting it, seeing how the grain goes. Got it. Well, that's all I'm doing for today, but I managed to split it again. And that's going to be the one I'm going to work on eventually. Good morning. It's Saturday, August 30th. And what I have here is shagbark hickory that was taken from my friend's uncle's property. And you can see in a prior video me splitting it out with an axe and wedges to follow the grain. And the unusual thing was when he cut it down, he noticed it looked a little drier. And I tried to peel off the bark and cambium. And again, we're approaching September. So maybe this, and it gets cooler at night, maybe the sap is slowing down the flowing, and we're getting in a winter mode with the bark and cambium, where if I steam it for an hour and 15 minutes, I'm able to peel the bark and cambium off like a banana, okay? So looking at this, when I look straight down, take it off for a minute. When you look straight down this, you can see it goes straight down, and then from here, it twists. It's got a propeller twist, okay? Kind of weird propeller twist. So normally you look for the best piece of wood you can, and a lot of times you wouldn't even mess with this. But because it's from a friend's property, I'm going to steam it. I'm going to remove the cambium. I'm going to carefully trim out a bow blank, and I'm going to follow the contour, the twist. When I take it down, I'm going to make sure I follow that twist. And you got to be careful when you're taking it down. You have lines on both sides because you want to follow the twist, and you don't want a thin spot on one side and a thick spot. You want to kind of get it level. And once I get it the way I want it, I will re-steam half of it and put it on the backset jig, steamed, and clamp it, okay? There's sometimes heat, sometimes steam, but this is a real bad twist. Okay, so now what we're going to do now is just going to show you how much moisture is in this. We're going to check the moisture. 9.8, 9.8, 9.9. So that's the moisture content. So that's what I believe. I believe now that we're getting into September. that the sap isn't flowing. It's got cold nights. We got cold nights. This comes from upstate New York, so we got colder nights. And because the sap's not flowing like it was in the spring, in the beginning of the summer, you're unable to pop up that bark and cambium and peel it off. But what happened was I was talking to, I don't know, one of the delivery guys, because they all know me to get stuff. They watch me make the bows. They watch my YouTube channel, these guys. And for long, I realized, oh, it's been in the steam tube for an hour and 15 minutes. And when I pulled it out after the hour and 15 minutes, I'm telling you, it peeled off like in the spring. And prior to that, I had it like an hour, and I used the draw knife and flaked it out and all, but the hour and 15 minutes seems to be the time to peel it off. So that's the plan. Peel off the bark and cambium, shape it out even as I can, steam the haft, try to correct the twist, and we'll see if we can make a bow out of this, okay? So let me show you my steam setup. Regular PVC is very expensive and very heavy. This is a drain tube I got for like 12 bucks. The inside's black. I used the regular PVC cap. A Wagner steamer comes with this fitting that you put in. I have an 1/8 inch drip hole, so you see the water dripping as it's steaming now. And when you get a Wagner steamer and you plug it in, you're going to say, what's going on? It's not working? And it is working. It takes like 15 minutes for it to start, okay? 15 minutes for it to start up. And then how you tell it's ready to put your stave in, or, you know, end whatever you're doing. I have a shorter one just for doing limbs for recurves, but this is the long one for doing a whole stave that's twisted. You hear that noise? It's ready to put the stave in. We're going to put the stave in. I tend to put the real twisted end in for some reason closer to where the steam comes in. I don't really think it matters, because once you seal this, okay, it's steaming all the way. Now, because it's bent, it's going to be a little tough getting out. I'll have to grab it with pliers. But we got that noise. We're going to put in. All right, so it'll be a little challenging getting it out, but that's okay. Once we get it out, it's going to peel the bark and cambium off like a banana. So I bought my wife new pot holders, and these are mine now, these old ancient pot holders, because you need them to take that hot stave out, and you can feel the tubes getting really hot all the way down to the end. So now we got this sealed good. Okay, it's sealed good. I'm going to set my timer on my phone for an hour and 15 minutes, and then we'll take it out, and I'll show you me peeling the bark and cambium off. And it's going to be a couple-step process. You can't peel it off and straighten it out. You got to peel it off, shape it, and then re-steam it again. See you in an hour and 15 minutes. Here we are. I was able to pull it out with the tongs. Okay, once we start it, it's going to come right off. Look at this. This never gets old. Pristine back. Okay? Never, never, ever gets old. This is what you do with your winter wood when the sap's not flowing. Okay? Let's check it out. Pretty hot. Let's check it out. This is what I'm talking about, a pristine back. Right? If this was straight, you just draw out your design and make a bow, okay? But we got to let it cool. We're going to trim it out and re-steam the twist. All right? Isn't that a beautiful thing? It really is amazing. So I got this twisted stave here. You can see the big twist, right? And what I did was I drew a design on it a little wider. I could always, you could always make it thinner, but when you got a twist and you got to straighten it out, you want to make sure you got a little more material. So let's see what kind of dimensions we got here. And like I said, I left a little bit of wiggle room. We got 1 3/4 at the grip, at the riser, and we could take it down to 1 1/2. We got wiggle room, you know what I mean? And then going up to like the midpoint of the limb, from the fade out to the end to the midpoint, we got a little bit more than 1 1/4, okay? And the idea is to have 1 1/4. And then what I did was I went down 6 inches, and then at the 6-inch point here, we have 1 inch. Okay, 1 inch here at the 6-inch point, and we have 3/4 at the tip. And again, the tips will be tapered down to 1/2 inch. Everything's going to be tapered. But when you have a twist, you want to leave a little bit more material until you get the twist straightened out. Because as you sight down the bow stave, like you're sighting down the barrel of a shotgun, you can look, and after you straighten it out, it may be twisted to the right, and you could take in material to taper it to make it more aligned. Okay, so that's the idea about leaving a little extra material when you have a twist before you actually take the twist out. The other thing is, I have this neat tool I bought off of eBay, okay, and you could use a compass, or you could just hold the pencil in your hand and hold your hand and slide it along and make the marks. But I made even marks on both sides. And what I'm going to tell you to do is, once you have it on a horse or whatever a bench, whatever you got that you're going to hold this stave on, you take the draw knife and go on angles. The idea is you take a little off on an angle here, you take a little off on an angle there, and you want to get down to the lines. And if the lines are twisted, when you take the top off, you kind of want to follow the twist, okay? You kind of want to, let me see if I can show you. You see how it is here? And then it follows the twist, okay? You see it follows the twist. And don't do what I do. You know, I use the bandsaw. I'm very careful. And when I'm using the bandsaw, I'm focusing on the back of the bow, the part that's away from you, and I have it against the table, and I'm holding it real tight. And as I go along, if it dips, I make sure that I leave room. You know, I leave room. Because if it dips and you cut it, it'll be one side will be very thin, and you don't want to have that. Okay, so you always leave extra material, and then you could turn it over and check the other side and kind of like even it up a little bit. All right, I'm telling you to use a draw knife, a rasp, whatever it is, to get to the lines and get it straight. So I'm at the point now where we have it. We have it, and it's doable. This is a real big twist. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to steam it today. I'm done. We're going to let it just set for a while. And what we're going to do is just check the moisture on it, just so you know what the moisture is. Now that we steamed it about an hour ago, 40 minutes ago. 8.7. 10. Put a little more moisture in the limbs. 6. So from 6 to 10. Now my friend's busy today, but I'm going to let him, this is his bow to work on. So I'm going to wait for him to have time to come over. And this limb over there is pretty good. This is the bad limb. Bad limb. So we're going to heat this up and steam it. And what we're going to do is with him and me with clamps already pre-adjusted on the back set jig. All right, that's the only, and we always, usually when I use heat, you gently, you don't force nothing. You let it, the heat, soften the wood. But when I steam this, and this is, I'm going to steam it for a while, it's going to be soft and pliable. When we take it out, it'll bend real nice. And we got 5/8 thickness, by the way. That's 5/8 thickness. And we're going to clamp it on the back set jig. 2 clamps right here on the riser. And then him and me both are going to put clamps to straighten this out while it's soft and pliable from the steam. Okay, I put that twisted limb on the back set jig tonight. I had evened out the wood a little bit, and I think I'll be able to, with heat, correct it. So we'll see tomorrow. Tomorrow's another day. Good morning. It's August 31st, and last night I decided we closed up the pool, and I put the compressor and stuff away, and I was looking at this twisted bow stave, you know, from my friend's property, and I says, you know, it's late. I'm not going to make no noise. I'm just going to take the back set jig, and I'm going to just, without hardly any pressure, just put it on and see if I can get it to bend slightly to conform to the jig, and see how bad it looks. I might be able to use heat to straighten it out. So that's what I did. I put it on the jig, and I lightly snugged up the clamps, no pressure, really a lot. And this morning, now, I had to move the bench out. The bench was in the garage, and this was on top of it. When I picked it up, I guess it kind of dried a little bit in the shape of the back set jig, and quite a few clamps fell off. So let me show you what it looks like this. This is the bad twisted limb, and you can still see there's a big space under here, right? Big space under here. So, and this one is fairly flush. So what I do is I take the heat gun and I start heating from in the fade out, from in the fade out for about 8 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes if it's a stubborn piece like that. So it'll be like 40 minutes to an hour, and I'll have this all heated, and hopefully it'll conform to the jig, and maybe I'll fire harden this later. But I was really surprised how well this is taking to the jig. And I think part of it is that this log had natural backset. So when you go in the woods and you're looking at trees, if you see a smaller diameter, let's say a sapling, you look for the straightest one you can. But if you see one that has a nice sort of like bend, like a C shape to it, that bend has natural backset in it. And, you know, that's another option too. You might take a bow, a tree or a limb that has a little bend in it. You know, some guy posted, can I make a, I saw in one of the groups, can I make a bow out of this? And it had a really big bend. And he could make a little horse bow out of it from what I saw. A lot of backset, you know. But that's kind of not my thing. I have a couple of small sinew back bows I got in there drying for, you know, just to try out. But so that I just wanted to mention that this had natural backset. It conformed to the jig, and as it dried, I'm going to check the moisture. Yesterday it ranged after we steamed it from like 6 to 10. So let's see what we got here for moisture. Okay, we got 9 in a riser, 8 in the limb, 8 in the limb. All right, it's kind of stabled out. It's 8 in the limbs, 9 in a riser. And now I'm going to heat it up. Okay, so once again, about 1 inch away from the wood, heating up from the riser out to the midpoint. So we're taking moisture out of the riser for fire hardening too, and the limbs, and getting them soft And we're going to slug up this, then this, then this. And the challenging part here, we may heat up for like 10 minutes and see. And then once again, as you're heating this up, you put your hand on and just lightly, if it don't turn, you don't turn. Okay, I did the inner, and this was really out and twisted. And I slowly slugged up this stopped. Then I started working this and this. I added an extra clamp here now, and we're going to just heat this up. You never want to put any pressure on the wood, okay? You don't want to crack any fibers. You heat it up, and it'll soften up, and then you could get it to conform. So look how close I got this. This was out here and twisted, and when I clamped it last night, I brought it in gently, as much as it would want to go without really cranking it. And this morning, the clamps fell off. I was able to snug it a little bit more, and now with this heat going back and forth an inch away, okay, what I'm doing is, look, oh, wow, look. Now, I'm not forcing this, but look how much this clamp almost fell off. This one's falling off. And this is all with the heat. I'm not forcing nothing. You see, once I turn it lightly and my hand slips, it's done. Okay? So now, I don't have this aligned. It's got to go down a little. I'm more interested in getting it flat first. So I'm heating this up, and it's almost conformed to the jig. It's really great. You know, heat is a wonderful thing, and if it was real bad, I think I would have followed through with the steaming. But you'd be surprised how much of a great big twist you can get out with heat. So we're going to go back and forth. I just wanted to show you that the technique is, you know, heat up a section at a time, the inner, the outer, and once it don't, like these don't want to go yet. This one's going a little bit. Leave it. And the only other alignment we're going to do is, it's got to go down about 1/8 of an inch, and we'll adjust that. We're going to get it hot. As a matter of fact, I'll show you. Okay, now we almost have this flush, but it's not. It's not quite flush yet. We got a space, a space, a space. Now you don't want to get burnt, so be careful. I'm going to loosen this up a little bit. Loosen this up a little bit. Let me try and push this limb down a little bit. I have this limb aligned now. Equals on both sides. Okay, so this is just about flush. It's got to go a little more. And this has got a space, so back to heating it up again. And we're going to heat this for another 8, you know, anywhere from 5 to 8 minutes. We're just going to, as we're heating it every once in a while, we're going to check the clamps. And once again, you kind of grab it loosely and turn it. Oh, look, it's going. And then it'll slip a little bit. It slips. See, this goes a little bit and it slips. All right, so that's the process. I am surprisingly pleased how well this conformed to this jig. And once again, when you have a twist, you leave the limbs a little extra wider. So as you sight it down after it's straightened out, you could correct if when it's straightened out, it's, you know, you shifted the wood to one side or the other, you can take it in as you're looking down like the barrel of a shotgun to make it even. You flip it around, look, flip it around, look, and you take in wood to make it as perfectly straight as you can. This is the Shagbark Hickory that was questionable, and it's not questionable anymore. And I'm going to do something I didn't think I was going to do today. I'm going to fire harden this. So that's all I just wanted to share. You know, don't give up. And I wanted to also share that at this time, the fall, when the sap is starting to slow down, you may have to steam the bark and cambium off, which works incredible. I would rather steam it than try to scrape it off with a draw knife, because when you peel it, you can see the pristine back underneath. There's no scraping, there's no chance of violating any rings or back. You peel it off, and there's a beautiful, pristine back that you could just draw a bow out on, and you're golden, okay, with any of these whitewoods, all right, any of them. So that's it. Fire hardening next. A couple of things I want to talk about is we left this a little thicker, and when we straightened it out with the heat and clamped it up, as we heat this on the fire hardening jig with the coals, the wood's going to get soft again, and we're going to keep on checking the clamps to make sure they're nice and flush, because the wood will shrink a little, and we want to make sure that it's nice and straight and flush. So we'll be doing that often, and it's a gentle turn. The other thing I want to discuss is, when do we fire harden a bow twice? And what it is when you get it floor tilled to about where you think it should be, a lot of times you get a floor tilled, you say, okay, it's bending where I want, and experience dictates how much it should be floor tilled, okay? You want to get it close to the thickness of the pounds of the bow you want. So, when you're just starting out, thicker is better. So we're going to cook this, and it's thicker because I left it thicker because of the severe twist. So as we're removing material after this is fire hardened, right? And once you fire harden any bow, you hydrate it. A wet rag 3 times, soaking wet. Like within an hour, 2-hour period, I want you to drip it a couple times, 3 times, soaking wet, put moisture back in there. And then the next day, it'll be fine for you to tiller. It won't be brittle. And if you have a moisture meter, you can check it. If not, don't worry. 3 times with a soaking wet rag over a 2-hour period, that bow will be fine for tillering the following day. So back to, when do we fire harden a bow again? Is it necessary? Well, let's take this one, for example. We're probably going to go for a 47-pound bow, a 50-pound bow, if everything works out good with this. It's from my friend's property. He's going to hunt deer with it. And when we start removing material and we put it on the tillering jig, we're going to start probably take 20, 30 strokes off each limb before we start. And then we'll put the string grooves in, and we're going to start it bending. And as we're removing material, if we remove a lot of that color and it's almost white on the bottom, and we only have a flex in a couple of inches, but we're getting it to the weight we want, that's the goal. Just flex it a couple inches and get it close to the weight you want. And then if it's white, you should fire harden again. And you don't have to fire harden it so much as, like, this is going to take at least 2 hours. And I'm going to show you how to check the heat. All right. It's important that you maintain the correct heat. The idea is not to, like, take a blowtorch and change the color of the wood. It does nothing but change the color of the wood. Fire hardening cooks the wood, okay, and makes it more hydrophobic, more water resistant a little bit, and it changes the structure of the wood. Obviously, it'll make it in line with the jig and make it a little tougher. So once we get it tillering and flexing a couple inches, and we have no more coloring left on it, we're going to start up the coals again, and we're going to put it to the correct height, which I'll show you, and we're just going to monitor it. And we're going to monitor it not to get it black, just to get the color the way we want the color, even into the fade outs. And then we're at that point, we know that it's re-fire hardened, it's close to the weight, and we can tiller it, and whatever it is when we're done tillering it. But it's so important, even after you fire harden it the second time, if you have to, okay, that you fire harden it the second time, that you hydrate it. Soaking wet rag 3 times, okay? Other things is like whitewood. You cut down a whitewood tree, a soft wood, let's say sassafras or something you choose to make a bow out of, and it's wet and soft, and I believe some woods combust a little sooner than others, and you may have it smoking a little bit. So you have to make sure that it's not the coal smoking, it's the coal smoking and not the wood. If the wood starts smoking, you got to raise it up. I keep a little sprayer. You want to cool it down. And it takes a little longer for it to fire harden. And with the softer woods, you do need thicker to get more weight. Okay, you can't have, let's say, a sassafras bow or something like a eastern red cedar or red oak or white oak will be thicker than a hickory. Okay, as a finished bow. Okay, because hickory is just a stronger, harder wood. Well, that's just kind of what I'm saying, okay? That's my experience. All I'm saying is, when do you fire harden again? Is when you start beginning tillering and you have no more color on the bottom. You kind of depleted the cook through the wood because you made it too thick, and it's okay to make it thicker than you should. It's a learning experience until you kind of get it down. And then cook it again and finish the tillering process the next day after it's hydrated, and you'll be golden. Okay? And don't overcook it the second time. Don't overcook it. You're looking for that color at the right height, and that's it. It's 10:15, and the time isn't really that important. It's more about the color and the height for cooking this. So it's 10:15, and probably by 1 o'clock, it'll be over there cooling off. So you put your hand underneath. Keith Shannon came up with this, and it works very well. You want to know how high off the coals this jig has to be. So you can't measure the distance from the coals to the wood because temperature and wind affects that. You can't go with a thermometer because as you get close, the heat from the coals are going to make the thermometer shoot up. But this is, you take your palm of your hand, and you got to have common sense. If you don't have common sense, don't do this. You don't want to burn your hand. Take your palm, go right underneath the limb, and 1, 2, 3 is, you don't want to be able to hold it. If you hold it for the third count and you have to pull it away, that's the right height. If you go 1, 2, 3, 4, then you know you got to either let the coals catch more or lower a little bit. If you go 1, 2, then it's too hot. You got to raise it or knock down some coals. But this is good. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I just wanted to explain that when you fire harden, that's the correct way of measuring the heat. And everybody's hand is a little different, but it's a great guideline. I'm going to say it early, I'm going to say it now, that Thad Beckham and Keith Shannon came up with a fire hardening video. You go to Shannon Outdoors and get that fire hardening DVD, and it'll change the way you look at wood making, okay, and bow making. You're able to go into lots in your local area without getting ripped off, and you'll be able to make really nice bows out of whitewood within a couple of days by fire hardening them, okay? So this is going to cook. We're going to watch it. I'm going to monitor it, and because of the twist and the clamps, I have many clamps here. We're going to just gently grab it and give it a slight, see if it turns. If it don't turn, it's fine. You don't want to crush the wood. You're just turning it. These are solid. I just put them on. Oh, look at this one. This one's just turning a little bit. I had it up high while it was The fire was catching. I guess it softened a little there. And look, the end one here too, see? Turned a couple of turns. Look, that's it. My hand slides around. Okay, so I'm going to check it. I'll show you in a half an hour what the bottom looks like. I'll show you in an hour what it looks like, an hour and a half. And at 2 hours, hopefully it's perfect and it'll be on the table. So now that we have this heated up, this will make a permanent set. So we took out our twist and we have all those clamps trying to keep the board level. The back of the bow, the part that's away from you, that's against the back set jig, is nice and snug, and we're going to try and maintain it, and that cooking will make it permanent. Okay, to be continued. Besides constantly checking the clamps, and once again, just to make sure that it's snug, not over tightened, you need a stick. And the stick is to knock around the ash, to knock around the coals, to take the ash off. And we're going to raise this in about 10 minutes. And I'm going to show you the bottom, and then we're going to add more coals too. It'll be a half hour more. It's been a half hour, and I'm going to show you the bottom. From the riser going to the right, there's hardly any color. Okay. From the riser going to the left, there's hardly any color. We knocked the ash off the coals. We're going to add coals and get it cooking again. Sometimes wood brown faster than other woods. Sometimes you have to cook them longer. And I'm going to give you an analogy in how I look at it as why some woods take longer to brown than the others. So if you have a toaster and you open up a package of white bread, throw one piece in, take another piece of white bread, run it underneath the water, get a little damp, put it in, push the toaster down. When the time's up, it pops. The one bread that was right out of the package will be toasted nicely. The other one will still be white. So either it'll be dried out or still a little damp. You'll have to push it down and cook it again. So you push it down and cook it again, and maybe perhaps the second time that you push it down, it'll be dry enough that it'll actually start to cook. And that's what we're doing, is we're cooking the wood. And if these trees were cut down within a week, you know, sometimes you see me cutting trees down, and the next day I'm fire hardening them, okay? And sometimes it takes a little longer for the wood to actually dry up to accept that cook. We're cooking the wood. We're baking the wood, all right? So that's what's happening here. And once the coals are catching nicely, we're going to put it down, and I'll show you in another half hour to see if we're catching up and it's starting to color. Not including the time that it took for the coals to catch, those limbs have been cooking for another half hour. And I'm going to show you what they look like. And this is probably going to be at least a 3-hour cook. I got another bag of coals out. I got more coals on cooking. It's just one of those things. Sometimes the bow takes longer to cook to the correct color. So I'll show you what it looks like. From the riser going to the right, we've got some color and very little color going on the tips, but we got color. From the riser going to the left, we've got some color and very little color going to the tips. Once again, I have more coals catching, and we're going to drop it down, and we're only going to count the time. You know, like I say, time isn't important, but you know, when it's cooking at the proper temperature, I'll show you in another half hour. The limbs have been going probably for an hour and a half or so. And like I said, they're thicker than normal. And I'm going to show you the bottom. And I'm not going to move the clamps. You know how usually, like, once I start getting color, I'll move them so that the spots that the clamps are covering, you know, I'll move them over to the dark spots, and they'll be white underneath the clamps, and they'll color. I'm not going to do that yet. All right, I'm going to wait till like the 2-hour mark. Let me show you what it looks like underneath. Now our eyes are going to the right. We have more color by the inner less by the outer, but we got color. From the riser going out, we have color, more color on the inner than we do the outer, but we got color. This is not a race. It's not beat the clock. It's when we get the color, we get the color. Show you in another half hour. Meanwhile, we've been tightening up the clamps all along, and I really think that twist is, with this long, slow cook, your twist will be out for good. We're approaching the 2-hour mark, and I moved the clamps a little bit, and we're going to let it go for another hour. It needs to go a little more on the ends, and I'll show you now, and then I'll show you at the 2.5-hour mark. From the riser going to the right, we have color. We have some color going to the end. From the riser going to the left, we have color, not a lot, and the end. As I'm waiting for the next half hour, I'm hoping that the buildup of coals on the ends will cook the ends a little bit more, the outers, and we'll check it out soon. This beau blanc has cooked for a solid 3 hours. It's rough cut. It's been cooling for about 5 minutes. It's still hot. We're going to let it cool a little more. And all I wanted to do was make sure that that twist that we got to conform to the jig is gone. All right. So once it's gone, it's all rough cut. It will have to be sanded, shaped, and tilled by my friend. And if we remove some of the fire hardening during that process, that's okay. We'll go down a little bit. If we remove it, we'll cook it again. And that's it. Hopefully this will be a nice straight piece after cooking for so long. It's cool. I removed the clamps, and after 3 hours of fire hardening, that limb that's twisted had a little bit of lift, a little spring back. Let's see if it's straight or twisted. Actually looks good, other than it lifted up a little bit. See if I can show you there. I don't know. So this is really rough cut. There's tool marks on it. It's got to be sanded. This is the belly, part that faces your belly. And like I said, once we shape it and sand it and start tillering it, we may have to fire harden it again. But for now, we took out the twist. I want to show you the most important thing that you do after you fire harden the bow. Here's a wet rag, dripping wet. We're going to hydrate this. We're going to put water back into this. And I like to do this like 3 times over a 2-hour period. Okay, I'm going to do that 2 more times, and that's the end of that. Always make sure you hydrate your bows with a dripping wet rag. So important. 3 times in like 2 hours or so, and then you tiller it the next day. That's the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Every day you get up is a great day. Make a bow. Go out and shoot. Do something. Enjoy the day. Life is short. Thanks for watching.